right, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, wherever you're situated on this great, big, beautiful blue globe floating through the void of Yah's creation. It is the 5th of March, 2025. And my goodness, it's never a dull moment. It's like we're watching a huge soap opera. You won't be trusted anymore. All right, well, we're broadcasting from the most confused, dumbed down, manipulated, and brainwashed nation on the face of the planet with news and information they hope and pray you never hear. I'm Dave vonKleist. These are the WTF reports. And it's not like we don't have enough reason to sit back and just, with our jaw dropped open and going, WTF? What the? Oh, my gosh. I don't know about you, but I watched President Trump in his address to Congress last night, and I'm sure a lot of you did. It's really interesting because, in my entire lifetime, I got to be honest, most people, a lot of people don't pay attention to politics. And it's boring, it's depressing, and I got better things to do, and I can't do anything, and I'm only one person, and my vote doesn't count, and you can't fight city hall, yada, 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 yada. Well, in the past couple of years, it's amazing because more and more Americans are actually paying attention to what's going on in the political arena. And the more they pay attention, the more they see how messed up things have gotten. Now, I got to tell you, as a young man, and for those of you who know my background, I've been a musician all my life. Ever since I was in high school, I grew up in the 60s and 70s, and everybody wanted to play guitar. There was the Stones and the Beatles and Bob Dylan and all the music stuff that was going on, and I don't think I know a teenager in the world that at some point didn't want to pick up an instrument and learn how to rock and roll. And I was one of them. And so I played music and was an entertainer, a singer, and I also did radio voices and narrations and commercials and character voices and all that kind of stuff. And I was always a liberal Democrat. And I remember in my young childhood, when John F. Kennedy was assassinated. I remember I was in junior high school when Martin Luther King was killed. High school. And when Robert Kennedy was assassinated. I remember those things. And the Democratic Party at that time was completely different than it is today. It was the party of peace. The Republicans were the war hawks, the warmongers. And the Democrats were out there, all we are saying is give peace a chance. I was right there. I was right on board with all of that. But what's happened now in the decades that have followed is the Democrats have completely flipped around. They're not the same as they were when I was a younger person. And now it is the Democrats who are the war hawks and the warmongers. It's the Democrats who are, pushing for all types of totalitarian controls, and it's the Republicans. And again, the Republicans have flipped just as much. It's like, I don't know, we know they play good cop, bad cop, during one administration, there's this party's the good guy and the other one's a bad guy. And then after they run that through for 4 or 8 years or whatever, they switch sides. And they've been playing this game for a long time. But now the Democratic Party has just completely, they have lost everything. And if you watched the presidential address last night, it was an absolute embarrassment. An absolute embarrassment. I don't know how anybody can stand by the Democrats right now because it seems that they're more concerned, and I could say a good portion of the Republicans are the same. I'm not, all just going to bash the Democrats. The Republicans got some issues too. But the bottom line here is that it seems that one party is more concerned with political power, profits, and they, as far as peace or prosperity, that takes a back seat. They are going to stand with their party, hell or high water. Doesn't make any difference whether it's right or wrong. We have to stay with the party. As a matter of fact, I was watching the address last night, and you'll notice, they had many different cameras. You could see, cameras zooming in on this person or that side of the aisle or that side of the aisle, and sometimes the camera was in the back looking towards Trump, and you could see all the people, from their backs. And at one point, Trump said something, and of course, on the Republican side, everybody is applauding, and the Democrats were just sitting there not moving. Well, I don't know what part of the address it was, but at one point the camera was in the back of the hall, and Trump said something, and of course the Republicans all applauded. And I saw one Democrat, I couldn't see who it was because the camera was from behind, but one Democrat started to applaud, and the person sitting next to him gave him the elbow. Cut it out. I said, oh my gosh. I mean, he could have come up with a cure for cancer and they would condemn him for it because he's not a Democrat. I mean, this is just insanity. And I got to tell you, the social media is on fire today. I just can't believe I didn't see anything, that was legitimate to condemn Trump. But so many people out there were going after the Democrats. As a matter of fact, there was a black woman who posted the following. Here's what she had to say. Listen to this. This is choice.
Oh my God, y'all. This is too much. I am watching this address to the Joint Congress. Let me tell you guys something. The Democrats, if you were a Democrat, you should be so embarrassed. They're acting like little bitty kids. Like they all got an attitude. They had to kick Al Green out because he running there shaking the stick. Nancy Pelosi slobbering on herself. Hakeem Jeffries sitting over there. And did you see Jasmine Crockett when Al Green got kicked out? She sit down like, I don't think I should do it right now. You should not. They all over there holding up signs, some all false and Elon and all of this. They are so embarrassing. I wouldn't want to be a Democrat, but you know what this does? It lets me know that I'm on the right side because everything that man is saying is good for America. And now you see who does not want America to prosper. You see who does not care about America. Them Democrats sitting over there with an attitude. I'm sick of them. Oh my God, they're embarrassing. I couldn't be called a Democrat. No way. They look like old, brittle, demonic demons. They look like gremlins, just bitter bigots. They just look like their life sucks. Their life sucks. They look unhappy. I wouldn't want to be married to none of them, honestly. They look like they are just terrible in a relationship. Like they frown up at everything. You can't be yourself, can't have no fun. They're bullies. They suck. I am so glad Trump is back in office. Because look at the leadership. This is rate the leadership. I'm going to give them a thumbs down. Can we fire all of them? They don't even want to collaborate with the president. That's supposed to be in leadership, collaboration. They don't even want to do that. They don't even care that things are going good. Did you hear the stuff that he was listing that they found? With the waste? And I'm glad he called Stacey Abrams out too. But I'm sick of black Democrats. You know what? Y'all taking the fall. You got them white Democrats that put y'all up in the front for y'all to take the fall. Now y'all looking stupid and ignorant. I'm glad they put Al Green's old funky behind out. I'm sick of him. I'm sick of all these old bigots. Go America.
Go America. Oh, I love it. Oh, it's just a riot. It's one after another after another. Well, here's another one. These are just flooding the social media right now. Here's another one.
You could not stand and applaud for the 13-year-old boy that beat brain cancer. You could not stand and applaud for the mother of Laken Riley. You could not stand and applaud for the mother of a 12-year-old daughter that was unalived in Texas. You could not stand and applaud for the young man that was just accepted into West Point with his father being unalived in the line of duty as a police officer. You could not stand and applaud for the wife of a police officer that was unalived on the line of duty. You could not stand and applaud for any of these Americans. But the one thing that the Democrat Party did stand up for is when President Trump said that we spent $380 billion on the Ukraine war. That shows you exactly where the Democratic Party is right now.
That's right. $380 billion sent over there to the Ukraine, and we now know that a huge amount of that money was funneled back through Act Blue to the Democratic Party. That's why they were applauding for all the money going to Ukraine. I mean, the corruption, the stench of corruption and hypocrisy is curling my nose hairs. You Democrats out there, I don't know what's wrong with you. I mean, you're suffering so badly from Trump derangement syndrome that you're not thinking clearly. I mean, a lot of these issues are nonpartisan. It's got nothing to do with being a conservative or a Republican. You know, I mean, Trump is trying to protect the young girls, you know, all over this country. And, you know, not just with, with the Title IX issue, keeping men out of girls' sports. But I mean, the issue about, illegal aliens being able to come into this country and rape and kill girls, and they're trying to pass a bill to protect young women, and the Democrats voted across the board against it. Now, since when is protecting young girls a conservative or a liberal issue? It's not. It's a human issue. And because it's Trump and the Republicans, the Democrats will stand against it. This is what Trump derangement syndrome is. I mean, it's literally, it's insanity. It really is. Anyway, the hits kept on coming as I was going through social media. Yet another person, bellying up to the bar and screaming about what happened last night. Here it is.
MAGA, have you noticed that Democrats love every other country but ours? They love Canada when they disrespect us. They love Mexico when they disrespect us. They love Palestine when they disrespect us. Ukraine disrespects us in the Oval Office, saying that we're going to feel pain soon, like it's a threat. And what do Democrats do? Oh, Zelensky's such a hero. Trump is a hero. Trump took a bullet for this country. And now the Canadian Trudeau. You guys are going to continue to boo the national anthem, and we're going to be fine with it. And then Democrats are like, yay, Canada, wanting to insult the national anthem of the U.S. We side with you. Mexicans that were in protest, burning the USA flag. Yay, Mexicans, we're with you, burning the USA flag. And Democrats still have the delusion that MAGA and Republicans want to be your best friends and that your opinion matters. No. We know that you will betray us time and time and time again. And you would rather every other country's flag, every other country's leader, but our own. The one that puts America first. The one, Donald J. Trump, that took a bullet for us. That's why I don't care to be a Democrat's friend or politically correct. Because Democrats politically correct nowadays is betraying the United States citizens, betraying our veterans, betraying the taxpayer, betraying everything that makes America, America, our national anthem, our flag. I really don't care.
Just amazing. Just amazing. And, we've all seen videos of all these demonstrators and protesters, out there in California. And, they're all upset because, Trump has got ICE going out there and they're grabbing up the illegal immigrants and trying to find, the really bad ones, the criminals, the rapists, the murderers, the drug traffickers, the sex traffickers. And you've got some of these demonstrators out there burning the United States flag and waving the Mexican flag, going, Viva Mexico, Viva Mexico. Well, then why don't you go back to Mexico if you hate this country so much? No. They don't want to go back to Mexico, but they're happy to come here and get on the dole and then burn the American flag. You want to talk about biting the hand that feeds you? Good Lord. Again, the stench of hypocrisy curls my nose hairs. And again, here's another post from on social media in regard to the Democratic embarrassment, I'll say.
I just want to know one thing. If you're a Democrat, for instance, how do you justify them not standing or applauding for any of the topics or things that he stood for? Like, how do you not stand or applaud when he brings up protecting women after the Laken Riley incident?
Exactly. I wanted to stop it there. That's exactly my point. I mean, he wants to protect women. Now, the Democrats, of course, are very much against that. Is this insanity? I mean, how many Democrats out there are women? Don't you want to be protected? Well, if Trump brought it up, no. I mean, that's the mentality. The Trump derangement syndrome is darn near suicidal. Anyway, I'll let him continue.
How do you not stand and applaud when he brings out a young boy with brain cancer and makes him a federal agent.
Okay, I'm going to stop that because last night, Rachel Maddow said that Trump made a spectacle of this whole thing. He ought to be ashamed of himself. I mean, I just don't understand. They will take anything, absolutely anything. You know, like I said, he could have the cure for cancer and they would condemn him for it because Donald Trump bad, Orange Man bad. It's just crazy.
How do you not applaud and stand when he says he hopes to balance the federal budget for the first time in 25 years?
Oh, well, if Trump's going to balance the budget, it can't be good because Orange Man bad.
How do you not stand when he brings up protecting women, specifically men in women's sports?
No, you can't do that either. No. Why? Because Orange Man bad.
How do you not stand when he says he wants to bring about peace and end the wars? You see the point I'm getting at here. How can you be a Democrat and stand for anything? Even if you don't like Trump, okay? The American people are watching this and they care about what your opinion is and how you stand with these issues, no matter who the president is. I just think that this party's done. I don't know what else to tell you.
Yeah, I think they are too. They really exposed themselves last night. But I mean, I've said it before. I mean, the Democrats, are so concerned about party. They don't care about principles. They don't care about peace. They don't care about progress. They don't care about prosperity. What they care about is power and profit and the party. To hell with the people. We want to make sure that we can still have our insider trading going on. We want to make sure that these billions and billions and billions of dollars get sent overseas so that it can be funneled back to our pockets. We want to make sure that we got our fingers in all these NGOs, which are, of course, gobbling up billions, if not trillions of dollars, because we profit from it. This is despicable, absolutely despicable. And it goes on, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, here's yet another post from somebody that was watching the presentation last night by Donald Trump.
Tonight, the world watched as President Trump delivered his address. And what did we see? Not just division, something worse. The Democrats didn't clap. They didn't stand. They sat stone-faced, refusing to acknowledge even the most basic moments of human decency. A young child fighting cancer, silence. The sacrifice of American heroes, nothing. They couldn't bring themselves to celebrate life, courage, or even common humanity. And then disruption. Representative Al Green shouting, waving his cane, making a spectacle. The Democrats embarrassed themselves, not just politically, but as people. The world saw it. America saw it. This wasn't protest. This was the death of a party that has lost its way. A functioning democracy needs balance. But what happens when one side abandons reason for blind, bitter opposition? We need leadership that rises above this nonsense. The Democratic Party isn't just collapsing. It's exposing itself. And if they don't course correct, if they don't find leaders guided by principle instead of petty politics, then yes, this is the beginning of the end. The question now is, who will rise from the ashes?
Good question. Who will rise from the Democratic ashes? I don't know if they've got anybody at this point. And if there is any member of the Democratic Party that does have scruples and has principles and has morals and has a testicular fortitude to stand up and express those values, they will be systematically drummed out by the Democratic Party because you refuse to goose step along with their principles. And yes, I use that particular term specifically because the Democrats continually try to equate the Republicans or the conservatives and Trump as Nazis. But the point is, it is they who are goose stepping along. They don't give a holly hoot. They don't give a rat's ass about the people. They've demonstrated that. They pantsed themselves last night. And I've never seen anything like that. I mean, I remember, when Biden gave his speech, yes, there were two sides of the aisle. Yes, one side would applaud and the other wouldn't. But I mean, these Democrats, they had their little signs, liar. They were holding up liar, false. Wait a second. He was going through all of the wasteful spending, and he was enumerating how many millions of dollars were going to this particular thing, a Sesame Street television show in Afghanistan or wherever the heck it was, $20 million to produce a TV show in Afghanistan. And they held up the thing and said, lies. No, it's not lies. It's not. Over and over again, because we've seen this. I was screaming about this thing 20 years ago about how the Pentagon was wasting so much money, and it's all documented. You can prove this. But, if you're a Democrat and you're sticking by the party, then what we saw last night is the Democrats slamming their eyes closed, plugging their ears, and going, la, 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 so they couldn't hear anything. I mean, this is like adolescence. This is crazy. And then they had the audacity to go after that, the 13-year-old boy, DJ Daniel. And like I said, Rachel Maddow was saying that Trump made a spectacle out of himself. And yet the Democrats, they wouldn't even acknowledge when this kid was made an honorary police officer. He's only 13 years old, and he's gone through 13 brain surgeries. And the kid is just surviving this thing. His dad must be so proud of him. And they made him, they officially made him a Secret Service agent. I mean, my God, what a wonderful thing to do for this little kid. And the Democrats condemned it. Here's DJ Daniels in his own words.
But you want to know the craziest part? Because my mom bathes me and my brothers all together. And out of nowhere, I locked up. And then my dad was calling my name, and I started going to the slow thing. And he said, stop playing with me. And I then I started to act, I ain't gonna lie, I started to act slow. And then as soon as he said that, we was speeding all the way, running lights, going to the hospital. And then next thing you know, I was seizing on the table. They said, nah, we gonna have to go in his brain tonight. Ever since then, I had 13 brain surgeries, and that's how many times my personality has changed. And that's something that you don't hear from a terminally ill child. They had 5 months to live. I'm gonna keep on going until my gas tanks run out. And that's when God calls you home. You never know when God's gonna call you home. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for my dad. And I know he's pretty proud of me, and I'm pretty proud of him too. And I'd like to thank President Trump, because if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be here today.
Yeah, well, I got to tell you, DJ, we're proud of you too. And I just cannot, for the life of me, I cannot come to terms or even understand why the Democrats would condemn this, or say it was a spectacle, or that Trump was, trying to grandstand about this. I don't get it. Are you so filled with hatred? The party of love, and yet they express hate. The party of diversity, and yet they condemn any diverse opinions. The party of tolerance, and yet they are intolerant of anybody who isn't goose-stepping along with them. Again, the stench of hypocrisy curls my nose hairs. And the thing is I will be condemned by people who I know who are liberals and who are Democrats, and they'll say that I'm the hater. Well, I'll tell you, if you Democrats would stop doing hateful things, and then we call you on it, and yet we are called the hater. That's called projection. Riley Gaines, of course, was in attendance last night, and she had a statement to say. And again, she's pointing out the same hypocrisy that I am. Here's Riley Gaines.
I attended President Trump's State of the Union address in Washington, D.C. tonight. Let me tell you what I saw. Better yet, let me tell you what I didn't see. I did not see Democrats stand and applaud a child with terminal brain cancer who was in the room. I did not see Democrats stand and applaud and honor the life and memory of young girls like Laken Riley or 12-year-old Jocelyn, who lost their lives to illegal gang members before their grieving parents who were in the room. I did not see Democrats stand and applaud an American who had been falsely and innocently imprisoned in Russia, who had recently been returned, who was in the room with his 95-year-old mother. I did not see Democrats stand and applaud a balanced budget. I mean, I could go on and on and on. But you know what I did see the Democrats stand and applaud? The only thing they stood and cheered for was Ukraine. And I don't mean peace in Ukraine, because when President Trump mentioned his efforts to end the Russian-Ukrainian war, they didn't cheer for that. They only cheered when President Trump mentioned we have given Ukraine over $350 billion in taxpayer funds. They clapped for the continued funding of war in Ukraine. The Democratic Party, and I don't mean Democrats, I mean the Democratic Party. So in terms of elected representation and certainly how left-leaning media portrays the Democrats, they're no longer American. They don't love our country. They don't love our flag. They don't love the American people. They are soulless. They are insufferable. It can only be described as immoral and evil. Tonight was proof for me that Democrats will literally stand for anything but America and its people.
Well, that's true. That's true, Riley. And it's sad. It really is, because it's going to be we're going to be left with one party. If the Democrat Party implodes, and it looks like it's going to, I mean, the CBS poll came out last night, and 77% approved of Trump's presentation. The overwhelming majority of Americans across the political field, they thought Trump did a great job. And yet, for whatever reason, the mainstream media, legacy media, CBS, and all of they still condemn him for it. Now, why do you suppose that is? What is influencing them to continue to walk down this particular path of self-destruction? Could it be bribery? Money? Lobbyists. Could it be coercion? If you don't vote this way, something bad could happen to your family. Or maybe it's blackmail. Now we open up the can of worms with the Jeffrey Epstein files. It's reported now that in New York, in the New York District Field Office of the FBI, they are furiously destroying documents and destroying hard drives. So much for FBI transparency. And meanwhile, the mainstream media wonks, well, they just can't figure out who he would be working for. And again, Dan Bongino and many others out there, I mean, it's the stinking, rotting corpse of the elephant in the room. I mean, it stinks so bad that you can't even breathe. Yes, we know that Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell, we know that they were Israeli Mossad. We know that. You don't have to be a brain surgeon or even a high school graduate to figure that out. Who could be behind all this blackmail? Who could it be? Well, you don't dare say it could be Israel. And again, I have to make it absolutely clear that Judaism and Zionism are not the same thing. And now they're trying to pass legislation that if you criticize Zionism, that will be called anti-Semitism. How could a political dogma be considered associated with some sort of a religious belief? It can't. But most of Americans, they don't know stuff from Shinola, because they get their information from the never-ending, gushing fire hydrant of blue Kool-Aid being thrown at them by the legacy media. They just don't get it. They can't get it. They've lost their cognitive skills. They've lost the ability to add 2 and 2 together and come up with 4. But anyway, the point is, what is the point? The point is that it's obvious who's behind all the Epstein files. And yes, Israel has been behind so much in this country for decades and decades and decades and decades. We know that the CIA and the Mossad are joined at the hip, and they are very deeply entrenched in every single aspect of our society, whether it be government, whether it be communications, agriculture, pharmaceutical, you name it. Israel's got their fingers in every single pie. And when you stop and think about it, how many individuals have been to Epstein Island, and how many of those individuals are in very prominent positions and who would be absolutely destroyed if that information came out. I would not be surprised if half of Congress would be exposed. I would not be surprised if most of the media moguls and decision makers and policy makers would be exposed. Again, it's all blackmail. And I don't know the way out, folks. I really don't. I wish I did, but I certainly hope that people will finally come to understand that, yes, there is conspiracy.
There's something brewing, people know that things aren't right. We're in the dark, it's black as night. And when the ones who see the truth try to convey, they're ridiculed and turned away. But now it's time for us to see there really is conspiracy. If we don't act, we won't be free. We must be brave or be a slave. I think we all know we've been lied to through the years. Events confirm our darkest fears. And in denial, we still act like nothing's wrong. We work so hard to get along. Manipulate and rearrange. The plan is brilliant and long range. And no one notices the change. Understand, it's all been planned. We can prevail, we can make our freedom last. Forget your history and you'll repeat your past. Search your heart and you'll know that it's true. It's up to us. What will we do? In 2 Timothy, it's there in chapter 3. It's in the book for all to see. With so much knowledge, yet so distant from the truth, polluting minds of all our youth. It's written in our history. Will not see. It's up to you, it's up to me. We must be brave or be a slave.
Tank will save you money every month on gas. Get More Tank is a tablet with active ingredients that adds big mileage to every tank. Made in America, the Get More Tank formula is used by trucking companies and heavy industry. Now the Get More Tank formula is available to you. Get More Tank works in any gas or diesel engine, cleans your engine, lowers emissions, and you'll feel improved engine performance every time you step on the gas. Get More Tank works for cars, trucks, boats, motorcycles, four-wheelers, mowers, and blowers. Hey, if you got an engine, then Get More Tank. Contractors, electricians, plumbers, painters, and lawn service companies, Get More Tank will save you money and extend the life of your engines. If you're an owner-operator running your big rig around the town or across the country, Get More Tank will save you money too. If you're a farmer, all of your equipment can use Get More Tank. A 5-pack on sale at GetMoreTank.com for just $22.22 plus shipping. Use the promo code REDPILL101 and get 10% off. Save your money, save your engine, save the earth at GetMoreTank.com. Get More Tank is EPA registered, doesn't void warranties, results vary. And you can find Get More Tank if you visit our website, TheWTFReports.com. Click on the sponsors page and please do business with us. Help us keep the lights on. And I promise you, once you start using Get More Tank, you will also understand how good this stuff is. Once you've got your engine accustomed to the new power that you've got, you're going to be saving about 15 to 20% of mileage. So you're going to be saving money, and like I said, your car runs better. So Get More Tank. Go to TheWTFReports.com, click on the sponsors or affiliates page, and use the promo code RedPill101. All right, I want to take the rest of this time here, and I want to share with you an editorial, and I'll tell you a little bit more about it after it gets to the end here. The 20th century has seen the development of the most devastating weapons technology known to mankind. From the first use of chemical weapons in World War I to the detonation of the first atomic bombs in Hiroshima and Nagasaki, from the cluster and napalm bombs of Vietnam to computer-guided missiles and depleted uranium rounds utilized in the Gulf War. As each of these technologies made their debut, there's always been voices of protest based upon humanitarian issues and individual rights, but never in our history has such a large number of people raised their voices against the development and use of biological weapons and the vaccines designed to counter their use. In the past, those unfortunate enough to have been exposed to some of these technologies were ignored by the Department of Defense and the Pentagon and denied treatment by the Veterans Administration. The strategy being that the admission of the existence of such weapons could be, quote, a threat to national security, unquote. And by stonewalling and denying over a long period of time, those afflicted would eventually die off, along with their voices of protest and despair. The atomic veterans of the 1950s are only now being recognized for their afflictions caused by radiation exposures. The Vietnam veterans continue to fight for compensation due to the exposure to dioxin in Agent Orange, and despite overwhelming documentation and evidence to date, not one of these veterans has been treated for Agent Orange exposure. Now, the battle rages between the Gulf War vets and the U.S. government over whether or not their symptoms are real or imagined. The blanket diagnosis of post-traumatic stress disorder has been and continues to be utilized by the government to both deny any real claim of physical illness and to negate the validity of any claims or accusations made by veterans. To compound the issue, the specter of induced illnesses by either the release or use of biological weapons or tainted or contaminated vaccines has finally caught the attention of many of the otherwise complacent American people. Senate reports, congressional hearings, and medical records indicate that the United States government and agencies like the American Type Culture Collection have been involved in the research, development, manufacture, sale, and use of weapons such as these in direct violation of the 1972 Geneva Convention regulations, which makes it all the more necessary for the powers that be to deny any possibility of biological causation. In fact, the word biological is rarely used, while the debate of pesticides, protostigmine bromide, pills, DEET, flea collars, chemical exposures, and the like is actually promoted. This serves not only to confuse and draw attention away from the biological and communicable aspects of these diseases, but also acts as a vehicle to siphon millions of tax dollars into the hands of the military medical establishment and proprietary pharmaceutical companies that created the problems in the first place. This is a perfect example of a masterful execution of the Hegelian principle. Biological weapons development have been a part of the Department of Defense program for decades and has proliferated unchecked by the general population due to the lack of truthful information being reported and ignorance or apathy. Not only the return of the troops from the Persian Gulf conflict and the subsequent reporting of the mysterious illnesses being suffered by many troops and their families did many Americans begin to consider the ramifications of the use of these weapons. To further heighten public awareness, the widely publicized anthrax mutiny, now occurring within our armed forces, has raised the question of the safety and efficacy of vaccines being administered to military and civilian populations. After checking the track record of the U.S. government as to the use of its people as unwitting guinea pigs in countless experiments in past decades, and the resulting advancement of biological technologies and pharmaceuticals, the terrifying prospect of manipulation becomes more apparent. Here are a few examples to support this contention. Bullet point. February 2000 edition of the Atlantic Monthly discussed research into, quote, a highly carcinogenic virus named simian virus 40, SV40, a known contaminant of the poliovirus and adrenovirus vaccines. In 1961, federal health officials ordered vaccine manufacturers to screen for the virus and eliminate it from the vaccine. Worried about creating a panic, they kept the discovery of SV40 under wraps and never recalled existing stocks. For 2 more years, millions of additional people were needlessly exposed, bringing the total to 98 million Americans from 1955 to 1963. How many people do you know that received this vaccine and suffer from or have died from cancer? The CDC withheld this information from the public. Bullet point. The Tuskegee experiment, where 399 black men were monitored for 40 years, quote, the government withheld treatment from the 399 black men with syphilis so that they could study how it spreads and kills. Bullet point. According to the Center for Disease Control, figures from 1973 to 1983, 87% of polio was caused by the polio vaccine. That's according to the CDC. Let me see. Okay, here's another bullet point. Unknown to many parents, many of the mandatory childhood vaccines, such as measles, mumps, rabies, chickenpox, polio, rubella, and hepatitis A, licensed by the FDA, actually contain human fetal tissue. Bullet point. The entire text of the congressional report, Biological Testing Involving Human Subjects by the Department of Defense, which was released on May 8th of 1977, documents innumerable experiments conducted by the DoD involving viruses, bacteria, fungi, drugs, and chemicals on American citizens without their knowledge or consent. Bullet point. The opening statement of the December 8, 1994 Senate Report 103-97 states, quote, during the last 50 years, hundreds of thousands of military personnel have been involved in human experimentation and other intentional exposures conducted by the Department of Defense, often without a service member's knowledge or consent. This is a direct violation of the Nuremberg Code. Those that raise questions about the motives and true agenda of these powerful entities are immediately labeled as conspiracy theorists, ignoring the fact that theories are not backed up by evidence and documentation. Nonetheless, the following questions must be considered. Question number 1. For decades, countless research organizations have solicited billions, if not trillions of dollars to find cures for diseases, but they only find treatments. Answer A, they can't find a cure. Answer B, there is no cure. Answer C, they don't want to find a cure because too much profit would be lost in research, conventional treatments, and pharmaceutical sales. Question number 2. The FDA has for years sought greater and greater control over foods, drugs, minerals, and treatments available in the United States. Many promising protocols that involve alternative therapies and natural vitamins and minerals have been suppressed or condemned by the FDA, and some of those researchers and practitioners jailed despite results that far surpass conventional treatments. Why? Answer A, they can't find a cure. Answer B, there is no cure. Or answer C, they don't want to find a cure because too much profit would be lost in research, conventional treatments, and pharmaceutical sales. Question number 3. The Gulf War veterans, Vietnam veterans, atomic veterans, their wives and children have pleaded their cases for treatment and compensation for radiation poisonings, chemical exposures, and biological contaminations of the DoD, Pentagon, VA, and for decades have been denied. Why? Answer A, they can't find a cure. Answer B, there is no cure. Answer C, they don't want to find the cure because too much profit would be lost in research, conventional treatments, and pharmaceutical sales. Answer D, they refuse to find a cure because to do so would be an admission that these maladies suffered were created by them in the first place. Also, if discovered, they would spend the rest of their lives in prison, if not hung for treason. Or E, all of the above. Question number 4. Hospitals, medical supply companies, doctors, researchers, pharmaceutical manufacturers, and all related services profit from sick people. How can they guarantee profit and job security? Answer A, guarantee there will be sick people. Answer B, guarantee there will be sick people. Answer C, guarantee there will be sick people. Answer D, all of the above. Why is the CDC called the Center for Disease Control? Why not the Center for Disease Elimination? Or the Center for Disease Eradication? Or the Center for Disease Prevention? Is it being inferred that the CDC only wants to control diseases rather than destroy them? The track record shows that the United States government and related agencies are not only capable of, but have consistently created, developed, and released new infective microorganisms into the environment and injected them into human beings. They've demonstrated blatant disregard for our personal rights as human beings to be given informed consent in human experimentation. They've demonstrated an insatiable hunger for power, a lust for profit, and absolute indifference as to the consequences for their actions. They have used the strategy of the Hegelian principle, where a problem is created, the solution is offered, and the policy or solution that is implemented that would otherwise have been rejected by the general public. They've also utilized their power and influence over the mainstream media to distort, fabricate, or otherwise cover up information vital to the decision-making processes of the American people. Is it therefore not logical to assume that it is possible, if not probable, that the powers that be are capable of releasing debilitating, if not deadly diseases via flu shots, vaccines, aerosolized sprayings from airplanes, or into our food and water supply? Could this be for the express purpose of offering a treatment for a price? Or could this be part of a greater scheme to control the masses? The answers to these questions will affect every man, woman, and child for countless generations and demands our immediate attention. Many may dismiss these speculations as those of a ranting paranoid. The term paranoid is defined as unfounded fear. After studying the available documentation and evidence, one would have to agree that these fears are not only well-founded, but are to be expected given the actions taken by the United States government, related agencies, and their history. Facts are being presented, and very serious questions are simply being raised. If the reader is angered at what he or she has just read, then ask yourself, are you angered at the questions or at the one raising the questions? If your answer is yes to either, then we all need to re-examine ourselves as Americans and figure out when and why we decided it was wrong to question authority. Our heritage as Americans not only gives us the right to do so, but charges us with the duty and responsibility to do so. When we have spent too many years blindly trusting our public servants to watch out for our best interests. If your servant betrayed you, wouldn't he be dismissed? If your servant stole from you, wouldn't he arrested and subsequently jailed? What if your servant deliberately exposed you to deadly radiation, chemicals, biologicals, and infected you and your family with diseases, all purchased with the money extorted from your paycheck in the form of taxes? What punishment would fit such a crime? Many of us Americans have allowed ourselves to fall into a self-induced stupor perpetuated by TV, videos, pop music, pro sports, and the like. We've all been convinced by the government and the mainstream media that anyone who dares ask questions like these are dangerous right-wing extremists and need to be dealt with as terrorists. These issues transcend the debate of right versus left, conservative versus liberal, or Republican versus Democrat. By allowing an issue to be labeled to a group, and then by pitting one group against another, the issue is never resolved because we end up fighting amongst ourselves and are thereby played as fools. It is for this very reason that they have gotten away with these atrocities for all this time. We must all individually consider the information presented and then free ourselves from the bondage of ignorance imposed by the powers that be and the mainstream media. The final step in reestablishing our personal freedom is resolving that we must actually do something before anything changes. Okay, the name of that editorial is called The Fall of Integrity. I wrote this editorial in 1999, folks. 26 years ago. How much of this stuff that you just heard is happening now? It's all happening now. It's all the same crap. And because Americans are so concerned about the upcoming March Madness and the NBA playoffs and the Stanley Cup and the new movie that's released on Netflix or their favorite TV show, it just keeps on going. On and on, unrelenting. Americans have got to get their priorities straight because our unborn children and grandchildren and great-grandchildren will condemn us for our complacency and our inactivity. Now, I was called upon many years ago to start screaming from the rooftops and blowing the trumpet. And it wasn't a fun thing. I got to tell you, there were times when, when I couldn't handle it. I was never prepared for this. I didn't serve in the military. I didn't go through any of this stuff. I just started tumbling down the rabbit hole in the late 80s. And it was in the mid-90s that I began really screaming from the rooftops and became a talk show host. And the following years ended up producing several documentaries and several albums of politically incorrect music. And I hope you go to the website, TheWTFReports.com, or you can also go to my other website, DaveVonKleist.com, and all the stuff is there. You can do a search on YouTube, just put my name in, and you can hear some of the music that I wrote 25 and 30 years ago. And it's all happening now. I mean, it's no fun, folks. I didn't ask for this, but I have no choice. So I certainly hope that you will take some of these words to heart and get yourself motivated. Start paying attention. Pick a cause and jump in with both feet. It's really important, folks. Oh, that's not the one. No, there we go.
We can't wait for you to start to get honest. We can't wait for you to start to be true.
I was pushing the wrong buttons there. Anyway, that's going to wrap it up for today's installment of the WTF Reports. And I'm going to get this copy of this editorial over to my webmaster. And if you'd like a copy of it, hopefully you'll be able to download it. All right, folks, that's going to do it. I'll be back tomorrow, same time, same place. And again, if you're enjoying this broadcast, I humbly request that you spread the word. Tell people out there there's a voice of sanity. That sounds a little crazy. And do business with our sponsors. God bless you all. Stay safe, and above all, stay free.